So this hand is it's gonna be a Matrix Casino, and this is actually pre-COVID, so we were nine-handed.
Yeah. Okay, so nine-handed at Matrix. Okay.
Right, right. It was a 5-5-10 with a mandatory under the gun starter of 20, and it was a uncapped game.
When was this played?
This was a while ago, like much more, before COVID. So it was a while ago. Yeah, but I mean, it was an interesting hand, and I talked about it, with a lot of people, and we all came to like split, opinions on what should have been done at the end of the hand. So,
Okay, so nine-handed,
uh,
5, 5, 5, 10, 20 Matrix. You get the five, the little blind on the button. That always screws me
yeah,
up when I go in with the Bay Area. And how deep are you?
yeah. So I'm 4,800 effective.
Okay, 40. Oh, deep for that game. Is this the deep stack game, by the way? This is the deep stack
This,
game, right?
you know what? It was. There's a deep stack, but I think this was like that day they just had like a 5-5-10. So I think this was higher than the deep. They had just a
Okay.
bigger game that day.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm effective at 4,800. Forced to me in the hijack, and I looked down to 5-6 of diamonds. I opened the race to 75 from the
Okay.
hijack,
Okay.
which was a standard race for this game.
Yeah.
That's what the raise was, at the time.
Yeah, so many
Anyways,
blinds.
yeah. So if also a small blind who's a regular pro, I had no history with the guy, but I've seen him before, and I know he plays the big games all the time. And he calls from the small blind, big limp folds, and the under the gun straddler also defends.
So this guy had 4,800, right, too? That's how deep the
No, no,
small...
I'm the effective stack, yeah, with 4,800. The Valiant, which is the regular pro who's in the small line who called, has me covered. So I'm effective stack with
Right,
4,800.
right. So 40, but the reason why I'm
Right.
asking that is that, I mean, the deeper you are, I guess there probably becomes more of an acceptable flat call range from the small blind because he's out of position and you guys are deep. But I mean, I know you're saying he's a pro. It's just that that's a very fishy setup right now anyways, right? Like you open
That,
hijack and he flat calls in the small blind with like 3 blinds to his left or whatever, or 2 blinds to his left. It's a
yeah,
fishy
he could
setup.
probably be three betting or folding. Yeah, yeah,
Well, most of the time. Now, like that's why I wanted to
yeah, yeah.
figure out how deep you guys were because I think the deeper you get, the more some hands can be flatted because of positional disadvantage. But okay, so he calls, straddle calls.
I guess we're fairly deep, right?
Yeah.
He's got me covered. I got 48. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Okay, so pot's like maybe
yeah.
240 or 250, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, big one folds. Straddler also defends.
Yeah.
We take a flop. Is 10 of diamonds and 9 of spades, 4 of clubs.
10 of diamonds, 9 of spades, 10 of diamonds, 9 of spades, 4 of clubs. You've got the small blind and
Correct.
you've got the straddler in there, and you're in position in the hijack, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So they both check, and I thought it was pretty ambitious for me to barrel on this flop since this is going to connect a lot with their, pre-flop calling ranges. I mean, I tend more to lead if it's heads up, more like see bet this flop. I have a couple of backdoors going on for me. But I feel like against two players here, it's pretty ambitious to like barrel and hope to take it down there. Or not that many. I mean, I guess I can have a couple of good turn cards that I can continue to barrel, but I feel like it was a little bit ambitious for me to, barrel this flop. What do you think?
How deep is the straddle, by the way?
So the straddler is got around the same as me.
Okay.
So about the same, yeah.
Actually, I'm going to disagree with you here specifically about this flop. Now, I agree with you in the sense that, well, see, the small blind flat range is that if you were to like look at that in theory, like that's got to be so tight. Like that's one of these scenarios where it's just like there's so little hand. So if you take an overall like scope of what that hand is supposed to be, as opposed to like if he was V-pipping like 20, let's say he's V-pipping 15% of hands, it's supposed to be 3-bet 95% flat, 5%, which is like, such a small range. But I mean, I understand that you say it's 10-9, but the specific property of your hand and the way that this board is here, where you've got a backdoor diamond draw, but specifically the 4 out there too, I would see bet this more often than not with 5-6 because you're going to pick up like a low disconnected blank cards like a deuce or a 3, right? It will give you a straight draw. You can barrel a backdoor diamond, and then you have like the ace too, which is disconnected. So I'm looking to barrel an ace. I'm looking to barrel a 3, a deuce, or a diamond. Whenever I can count like as much as 1/3 of the deck that's going to be good barreling cards for me on the turn, against two people, I would like a bet here. Because this is basically, you've got 3 to a backdoor flush draw and 3 to a straight. You don't have, I mean, it's just like if you had the 4 of diamonds out there. I mean, I know it's not out there, but, and it's not like it's 10-9-7 or 10-9-8. It's 10-9-4.
Right.
You can get some disconnection. So I do think that I would bet.
Don't get me wrong. I would bet this swap sometimes. I just feel like a combination of both, checking and betting. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Like you said, you lean more towards a bet. I feel like it's close. Betting or checking there.
I do.
I guess.
I mean, obviously, I think that like having the board be slightly better, like 8-9-4. The reason why I think the board being 8-9-4 is slightly better, besides the fact that I guess you'd have a gut shot to a 7-2, but even is just that on 8-9-4 now you have an additional disconnected high card that's going to be good to barrel when a king. Whereas here on a king is going to connect here too. So, but it sounds to me like you check back.
Yeah, I just feel like the small line is going to have a lot of queen jacks, king tens, king nine suited. All those cards are never really folding the flop, to a C. But obviously, you can have like deuces, ace deuce suited, all those, and he'll fold that. But yeah,
I mean, he really shouldn't have any. He really shouldn't have any of those hands. All those hands should be played as 3 bets or folds, and he shouldn't call with the offsuit ones. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, so you check behind. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, so I check it back. The turn is a pretty the gin card for us, which is a 3 of diamonds.
See, I would have started a bluff. Obviously, it is a gin card for you.
Yeah, now I'm like, all right, I wish I would have said, C-bet a flop there, but yeah. Yeah. So we get the best card in the turn, on the deck on the turn, obviously. And now the small blind leads out for the villain leads out for 125 on the turn.
Okay, so like half the size of the pot.
Right, correct. 125 into 240. The Strawberry gets away. And now here, obviously you have 2 choices here, right? Either call or raise. And I feel like, calling is too weak. At the same time, though, like raising, I feel like raising is definitely the optimal play here since I picked up so much equity. And I can just take it down on here on the turn. The problem is, too, like I was thinking, like it's hard for me to rep, a lot of hands as played because I'm never checking flops with overpairs, like 2-pair plus. So it's hard for me to rep anything on this turn, but at the same time, like I feel like the optimal play here is to raise. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I tend to agree with you in the sense that, I think that when people were less knowledgeable, sort of at a less, not that people are advanced in live poker, but I would haphazardly, without a thought, raise your hand as a combo draw on the turn, like. In the game, the Commerce 5-10 game back in the early 2000s, mid 2000 teens, because the players were so bad and they would just fold out of 10. Right? They would just
this happened about this guy knew what he was doing. It wasn't that long ago. It was
but maybe my point is that you have to be more thoughtful these days. Like if I put myself in your opponent's spot, and I bet out on the turn with a 10 and you raise now on the turn, I'm like, what does this guy have? He check back pocket 9s? I mean, this is why this is why it's so gin though. Sometimes when you raise with pocket pairs and then you check back the flop in a scenario like this and you turn a low set. Like this would be so gin if you had like pocket 3s, right? Because people wouldn't believe
that's basically all I'm repping, yeah.
But I mean, here's the thing. Like you're not really checking back the flop with overpairs to raise the turn. So I really think that I would probably call here. If you think that the guy is like somewhat aware, I think that I would probably call. Now, I don't, people are like, well, aren't you supposed to be balanced in the sense that what bluffs do you have when you raise turn? Sure. I guess if you want to have some bluffs to balance with the times that you check back the flop with sets and you check back you hit your set on the turn, then obviously the draws that you'd want to raise here would be 15 out draws. So it can't be that bad. I'm just saying that I would probably call more often than not. So what do you raise it to what? How much?
Yeah, so I raised it to 450.
Okay.
What do you think about the sizing?
I think it's fine. I mean, you guys are deep, right? I mean, you could even go.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could go. You're making it. I mean, I guess you could even go up to like 500, but I'm not sure if it's going to make that much of a difference. So you raised to 450. Okay. He calls.
Right. And I, I was also thinking like I can, if he somehow 3-bets me the turn, like I still can realize my equity and call and play perfectly in position. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean the hands that he probably should be 3-betting the turn would be like pocket 10s and pocket 9s, right?
Or 2-pair plus, 2-pair plus.
I don't know. Yeah, you mean like 3-bet like 10-9 suited? That might be a little bit of an overplay.
Yeah,
but...
I think yeah, because what am I really repping here, right? Like over the set of threes. I mean, I don't know. If I would agree. I would think that he would three bet me on the turn with 9-10 there, but uh, you know, a little bit questionable. But anyways, yeah, no. So I make it 450, and he calls. Takes for about 5 seconds and calls.
So the pot's probably like 1150-ish now, right? Something like that.
Correct.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So he calls. So
All
it's 10 of diamonds, 9 of spades, 4 of clubs. You have 5, 6 of diamonds. You check back the flop. Turns at 3 of diamonds. Small blind leads. Guy in the middle folds from the straddle. You make it 450. He calls. Pot's 1150.
Correct. So we take a river, which is the jack of diamonds.
Jack of diamonds. Wow, you make your backdoor flush, huh?
Correct. Yeah.
10, and then again, whenever we're looking at backdoor flushes, you got to look at the flop distribution too. Like if something wild happens here, you look at the flop distribution to see like what pairs and all this shit. So 10 of diamonds, 9 of spades, 4 of clubs, 3 of diamonds, jack of diamonds is the board. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
So the villain now, after 5 seconds or so, elects to check, and obviously we're loving life here, right? Now we're going for value.
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. So 1150 in the middle. I choose a sizing of 900, a little bit on the bigger side for sure. What do you think on the sizing there?
Well, I mean, if he's called the turn raise here, yeah, you're probably supposed to probably go large. I mean, you can obviously exploitably go small with value to try to get called and larger with a bluff, but I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, it's just one of these. I mean, I'm trying to think if I put myself in that guy's spot. Like, am I bet calling and then now you're betting 900 at the end? It's, am I calling if you bet smaller when the diamond comes? Probably not. I mean, so it's just like you're trying to get, some value against the hands that he can't fold, like sets and maybe like 2 pair or something like that. So I think it's fine. You bet 900.
Right. So I bet 900, and he goes in tank for about 30 or 40 seconds, and so goes back to checking, his whole cards. And about 10 seconds later, after he does that, he throws in a 5 1K chips, putting me all in for my remainder 3,400.
So you bet 900 into 1150, and he jams. And how much is it for you to call? It's
3,400. It's 3,400 more.
3,400 more. So he jams for 43 total, right? So
exactly.
So the pot's like 63-34 for you to call. Is that right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
6,300, 3,400 to call. I mean, listen. Like I said, I mean, you can go down this road like about how competent this guy is. Like if you were to say run this through a solver, it's always going to say call, right? Like I mean, I just can't imagine you ever are supposed, because it's not even an overbet. I mean, it's less than a pot size bet, right? I mean, slightly, right? It's the 63 for 34. You're getting almost 2-1. There's just no way that a flush could ever be a fold here. Now, have I made an exploitable fold like this in the past? Sure, absolutely I have. I don't know if you added that little thing where he, fucked around with his cards, like making it like. But
yeah.
But it's like, what hand though? Let me ask you this question: what hand is single pair? Like, has the single ace of diamonds in it here, based upon the entire way that you went through the hand? Ace 10 off. You gonna call from the small blind with ace 10 off?
You're asking me what hands I think have the ace of diamonds in it. I think it's ace 10. I don't know ace 9 off. Obviously not. I don't ace 9 off. No. That's pretty much it, right? Like it has to be just ace 10 off, right?
Well, right.
Assuming he has ace of diamonds, obviously.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I ask you the question, because the answer is ace 10 off. But listen, have I seen live players flat call from the small blind with ace 10 off? Sure. I mean, you'd have to parlay again. When you go down this road, like you'd have to parlay a number of different things happening here, which I feel like are all less than 50% of each instance. Number one, the flat call with ace 10 with the ace of diamonds. Number two, then him bet calling turn with ace 10 with the ace of diamonds. Okay, that might be. But then number three, him then choosing to turn ace 10 with the ace of diamonds into a bluff at the end. Now, if you were to say, okay, pre-flop, he's going to call with ace 10 off 30% of the time. Then on the turn, Okay, maybe he'll like bet call with ace 10 with the ace of diamonds like 80% of the time. But now on the river, he's going to choose to like turn ace 10 off into, taking a line of a check raise bluff only 20% of the time. This is how you do conditional probability. I'm getting on a calculator here. 0.3 times 0.8 times 0.2 if all my weights were accurate there, and you get 0.048. So it'd be like 5% would be the probability of each one of those instances. I mean, I have no idea how correct those probabilities are, but that's how you start to get to it. The point that I'm making is that it's an under-bluffed spot in live poker. In reality, I don't even know what the right bluffs are necessarily for this guy to get here at the end, and I don't know how often the ace of diamonds here
the thing
is present.
It gets there. Yeah. Well, I thought about it. Doesn't really, would you agree that he doesn't really necessarily have to have the ace of diamonds in order for him to make this play. Like, it can also be like, I don't know, queen 10 with the, obviously thin, right? But queen 10, king 10 with the king of diamonds or the queen of diamonds, queen jack with the queen of diamonds, like all the hands that, that have a pair that contain a diamond, where he doesn't think that he's ever good when I choose the sizing on the river. So he's turning those hands into a bluff. Like, all these things are going through my mind.
I guess so. Again, it's going to start with a deviation pre-flop, though, because all those hands offsuit are not supposed to be called pre-flop. Ace 9 off, queen jack off, queen 10 off, like all those types of hands. Right. By the way, I'm just trying to find the bluff. Obviously, there's a ton of flushes that beat you here, too, right? Like, you've got the lowest possible flush.
Right. And the hands that beat me, right? Like ace deuce of diamonds, king queen of diamonds, queen 8 of diamonds. I don't know if 7 8 of diamonds will check shove here. King 9 of diamonds. So those are all the hands that I lose to, right? Like, makes sense. I mean, ace deuce of diamonds probably just call. I mean, even though he probably should be 3-betting or folding out of the small one, but he probably gets to the river with all those hands, right?
Well, sure. I mean, you're going to bet call. I mean, where they're in preflop. What did you end up doing?
So, man, I ended up going in the tank for about 5 minutes, probably the longest tank I've ever, gone on. And at that point, it's either like a bluff or he's got me beat, right? Like, there's nothing in between, right? Like, he's not shutting.
No, I don't think there's anything in between. I mean, it's
either he's got me beat, he's got a bigger flush, or he's turning a one pair hand into a bluff here. And my thoughts on this were, so a couple of thoughts that I had there on the river. Is he really checking a flush on the river? Like when it hits, right? Like me repping 2-pair plus on the turn. Is he really checking the river and possibly have me check behind and not get any value from his flush? Like, all these things are going through my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you think? Like, he shouldn't really be checking that many flushes on the river, right? Or as played. Like,
I'm sure he's supposed to have a lead. I mean, like I said, you're supposed to have a leading range. Would I do a lot of checking on the river with flushes here if I made the backdoor and I bet called turn? No, I wouldn't. I would be doing a lot of leading. So what happened? What did you do?
So I ended up making the hero fold, actually, just because I thought, and my reason behind that, it's like the guy only has 450 plus 75, 525 invested in the hand, and is he really going to risk 4,300 on a when he only has 525 invested in the whole hand? Like, I don't know if this is the right way to think about the hand at the moment, but that's just what's going through my head. Like, all right, the guy only has 500 invested in the hand. Like, why is he really going to risk almost 5K here on the bluff, on the check raise? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's a live intangible. Did you ever find out what he had?
Yeah. So no, well, not that day. A couple days later, I talked to one of his.
Oh,
friends.
I can't wait to hear what he says he has. Okay, what bluff did he have? Let's hear it.
No, well, I asked his friend, and he told him that he didn't have it. He didn't say what he had. He just said, like, no, he didn't have it. He bluffed you.
Okay.
So that's all I got from that. I guess we were never totally.
I mean, I love it when they don't have it, but they can't come up with the specific hand that they don't have. Obviously, you're talking through his friend, so. And if this was a while back, but this is why I always love to, be able to, because, obviously I stay out of it at the table, but whenever I hear like two, especially recreational players talking about a hand after the fact, and then one guy says I had this, and I'm laughing inside literally, because I know there's literally no way that this guy has this based upon the way that the hand went down. And we had a call a couple weeks ago too, where some guy said that he had like a certain hand that was a set, and it's just like, total bullshit. Usually when live players put in a bunch of money, they have it. I mean, listen, exactly I don't think that. I mean, it's probably very close, right? It's very, very close to zero EV. I don't think it would be. Thinking. I don't think it would be a big mistake.
Are you folding? Are you folding here, or
I fold to some people. I fold to some people for sure.
With no history. With no history. Yeah. How about no history with the guy?
I mean, with no history, I find it hard to do that. I'd have to really go deep into my well of just like sizing up a guy, like the way that he looks and like the environment that I'm in or some bullshit like that. Like if this guy is like wearing a backpack and he's a Euro guy, no, I'm not going to fold. You know what I mean? If he looks like he's on his case money, maybe I would fold, but I appreciate the call. Thank you very much. All right. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.